Good afternoon, friends. I'm just getting online now because I wanted to share a little something with you. One of the tools that has come in handy in my life. I was reminded this morning by something that I remember just before 9/11, I was going to be going to the Philippines, and I stayed at an ashram at New York that I really love. And actually, I was hanging out there, but I was going to stay in a motel because it was closer to the airport for the next morning. And when I got to the hotel lobby to check in, there was a man at the counter, and we started talking. And we were talking about our spiritual path, and it seemed like a very it's not everybody that starts talking about their spiritual path to a total stranger. But he asked me about mine, and I told him that, my whole life I've studied spiritual paths from all over the world in a lot of different traditions, and it's always been a very important thing to me. And then I asked him about his. He was very responsive to my response, by the way. And then I asked him about his, and he ducked down behind the counter and pulled out a drum, a frame drum, and he started chanting. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And then when he stopped, I asked him, what was that? That was incredible. And he said that it was a chant, and it came from the Lotus Sutra. And what he told me was something that was about to really come in very conveniently with what was to follow later on that month, yes. He told me that in the Lotus Sutra, it is recognizing that every soul, every being that is in human form is rushing to be reconnected with God. We're always connected, but to feel reconnected with God, which is, or the ultimate reconnection is when we die, and when this body dies. I don't believe we die. And so it was just so very beautiful the way he gave it to me, and I felt it very deeply. That night I went to sleep visioning people rushing to be with the divine, both with the physical body and those who were staying here on this planet with their intention to really focus on the divine within them, the God, the Godhead, the Great Spirit, the Goddess, whatever you call that great being that is so magnificent. I mean, we never can really get a total hang on what that is. Hi, Phyllis. Please feel free to comment. I'd love your feedback on this too. And so, just in case you missed it, I'm gonna reiterate a little bit. Just before 9/11, I had stopped at a motel up near New York, near the ashram that I stayed at. I was about to fly out to the Philippines, and when I went to check in with the reservation desk, there was one man there, and I was one woman checking in. We had an opportunity to chat a little bit, and he asked me about my spiritual path, and it was beautiful because not everybody asks you. Strangers don't ask you about your spiritual path very often, but he did, and I shared with him mine, which is a mix of many different traditions. I've studied spirituality pretty much my whole life, and studied traditions from all over the world, and mine is a mix of what works for me. And anyhow, so then after I shared mine, I said, then how about you? He pulled up a drum from behind the counter and started chanting. And he said that all beings are rushing toward the divine, toward the God, toward it, whatever it is, that the word that you feel comfortable with when you think about that which is greater than all of us, that which is the I am, right? And so it was very profound. That night I just saw people rushing to the divine in themselves, and rushing to the divine in their consciousness, and when they were dying, feeling themselves embracing that they were again going back to the Godhead, and there was no more the illusion of separateness. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful night's dream, and it held me in a beautiful place as I was about to step on a plane to go to the Philippines. It must have been about 9/7 or 9/6 that I was going to fly over there. And we spent a couple of beautiful days there. I was visiting my son and his family in the Philippines. And it was beautiful. I fell in love with the people. They're just so down to earth and real. And anyhow, so then all of a sudden, one morning we woke up and the TV was on. Somebody had turned it on in the family, and they were showing 9/11 happening. And then the second one came on live, and you probably all remember that day. And because that message that had been given to me just before going to the airport to come to the Philippines had been given to me, what brought me sanity was when I saw those videos, I just saw those people being delivered to God, delivered to the Godhead, delivered to our source, to the source of life. And that helped me to deal with that reality. And so this is a prelude to what happened this morning for me. That tool has helped me many times since then. And so this morning I was opening up my shades behind me. I've got greenery behind me. You can't really see that right now because it's a little shiny. But it's beautiful greenery behind me, and I love my backyard. My lanai sits out onto the backyard. And I was just grateful for the day. I was, still feeling really grateful. I'd slept really well, and I was feeling good and healthy, and opening up my shades and looking outside. And then as I went from one of my shades to the other, I remembered or realized that perhaps about maybe thousands of people died overnight since I closed those shutters. I don't know the numbers. I haven't examined the numbers, so please, if I'm wrong, that's not really the issue. That's not really what I'm talking about. But many people have died. Many people die every day, but many more people right now are dying, are going back to the Godhead. And so what happened was I had a flash for a moment as I was opening. Many more have died since I closed these shades. And I went to a moment of prayer. So I was heading towards heavy grief, and I have been having bouts of grief and allowing myself to go through them. But this time what came in is a beautiful prayer, just holding them all in my heart and in my mind, knowing that they are safely going to God, to Godhead, knowing that they are safely going to purity, no more troubles of the world, no more fear, that they can be in peace. And that I really believe we do not leave until it is time to leave. And so I just was able to hold them in prayer rather than go into my own fear and bring the focus onto my worry. And the prayer was beautiful, and I felt as if that prayer, that Lotus Sutra that I had learned for 9/11, had revisited me. And I thought, I want to share this tool with all of you so that perhaps if you are suffering and grieving this, and if you hear about people passing and dying, perhaps if it brings you comfort to know that they are going back to a pure state, they're going forward to a pure state, and that they're no longer suffering, no longer needing to know about what to do about money or what to do about getting sick. They no longer have that problem. So if you can send them blessings on the way rather than crying and holding them, yearning for them, pulling on them. Another Buddhist tradition I got from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, because I've worked a lot with the dying. So I studied quite a lot about handling that aspect of life, which is the most sacred aspect. It's our graduation. But what I got from the Tibetan Book of the Dead was to not pine over someone who is dying or who has died, because that's, every thought is an energy, and so they receive that, and even after they've passed, they feel it and they can sense it. And if you're pining over them, that is kind of pulling them back in, and it's keeping them from moving forward more freely with their journey. And so you want to really be considerate. It's a fragile state, although much safer than in this planet, but we don't want to be magnets to confuse those souls that are passing. We want to send them our love. Bon voyage until we meet again, and they'll always be with you. And so, we're all dealing with a lot of grief right now. The nature of grief is that when you have one grief, all of your other griefs keep coming back for you to continue working on. So it's a cumulative effect. And now we all have a common grief of losing the world as we know it, losing our lives as we know it, losing our control of our lives as we know it. And so in order to really be with that and not have it take over our lives, because every moment, every breath we have here is precious. And we do need to also look at our grief and our fear, but it's also really important to be able to look at it, feel it, and honor it, and then to release it. And I'm going to be doing something, we'll have some tools for you for that, and for all of us, if you like to have tools for these kind of things, perhaps I can help you with that. But the important thing is that you don't try to push it away, not let yourself think about it, and not let yourself squelch it down. I know I've been doing a lot of thinking positive. That's really important, but it's also really important to face the fear, to face the grief. I can't say that enough. Face it. And one thing that I can suggest is, when you're facing it, hold yourself as if you're holding yourself by a mother or some protective being, God, whatever is a protective being for you. Hold yourself in that protection, and then witness yourself from that place, and hold yourself, cradle yourself as you feel the grief. And then you can anchor yourself to come back to feeling like, oh, look, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Right now, I am here. I am safe at this very moment. And you can come back to the present moment without getting stuck in what if and oh no and all of that, and then ruin your day and have a miserable day. Each day could be our last day. And, we don't want to, I don't want to die feeling like I spent the rest of my life being miserable about what might happen or what has happened. It's a forgiveness journey. There's so much. One of the things that's so amazingly beautiful about what's going on right now is that we're all reaching in to, we're all inquiring more about our spiritual journey, and we're all more open to reaching to see how we're showing up and doing the best we can, and with what we have. That's such an important thing to remember, to be gentle with ourselves, to eat healthy so that it's life affirming, have healthy thoughts as much as we can, being kind to ourselves and each other. And we're going to be much less likely to come down with issues and problems if we can be with that. If it's our time to go, we're going to go. But I really believe that we don't go until it's time. And I feel as if, and I'm not alone with these thoughts, I know there are many people who feel this way, and you're probably some of them, but I'm kind of here to remind us, just in case, because we all can go off on a sidetrack of fear and grief. And so I want to remind you that there are tools to work with it. And you don't have to spend your whole life grieving. Yes, it may be running in the background because of the common grief that we all have, the community grief, but to also to feel it and then release it and get on with the things that you love. And then when that happens again, be willing to do the dance. It's a dance, and the music is playing, and it's here, and it's probably going to be here for a while. We don't know where it's going to go. Nobody does. But what I do trust is I trust that there is something greater than this. and that is where we go with our soul, that our soul returns to the Godhead, to the divine, where there is no more to worry about. And then we'll see where we go from there, but it is a graduation, and my hope is that we all go in a feeling of peace, a feeling of peace, that we live this life to the fullest with what we had and how we could, dealing with our challenges, deepening our strengths, becoming more and more resilient, and then also realizing that we are fine the way we are, to accept who we are with our shortcomings and all of that, to be gentle with ourselves. And again, in loving ourselves, taking really good care of ourselves, and also wanting to discover what other gifts we may have within us that haven't been lived out to the fullest, just because those paths can give us much more joy, much more feeling of reason to be alive, and much more light for the rest of the world. And right now, we need as many people holding the light as we can. And that light can be shown in many different ways. So I invite you to put some message, put some comments in here. And even after the live is over, put some comments in ways that you can light your light, or keep your light going and keep it going brighter and brighter, and in ways that it might help the universe, the planet. Nature isn't suffering right now, it's just humankind that is. And so this is our plague, this is our challenge to step up. Nature is actually thriving because of this. And so if we can spend time with nature, commune with nature, talk with nature, and see how we can be of service to continuing that happen, being conscious of the products we buy. If they aren't earth friendly, don't spend your precious money there. The earth is just as precious as your money is. Really be conscious about what you consume, what you put in your body, what you invest in. That's a whole thing in itself. If we keep on poisoning the earth, we can't expect it to be in health. And right now, it's a turning point, and we are going to be recreating the world as we know it when this is all over. Depending upon how far it goes, it will then become recreated, because there's that breathing that happens. We breathe in, we breathe out. And so does the population of the earth. And so it will repopulate again. And so I am asking for you to think about ways that the world could be recreated in a way that is not going to bring us to our own demise again. So, or not even bring us close to it. A way that is in harmony with nature. We need nature. Nature doesn't need us. We need nature. And in being guests of nature, I've said it before and it keeps on coming back, we are guests on this planet. And I'd love it to see that we are gracious guests. Gracious guests. Little something to give myself a little laughter at myself. So we can be gracious guests and really leave the planet better for us having been here. And it's the same with our relationships with people. If we can do that, it's not always easy because all of the things that come across. But if we can also reach out to people in this time to heal relationships, I think that that could be a very beautiful gift that comes from the coronavirus. And that will make us, when a time for our graduation comes, makes it easier for us to move on when we feel as if we are leaving people who we've shared love with and that things are resolved. It will be better and easier for everyone. So I'm wondering if there's anybody who has a call to action that they are willing to commit themselves to. And if you need to think about it, well, you can think about it a little while. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue this live with a little bit of harp music. I just happen to have my harp right here. I've got Siobhan next to me this morning. And I haven't tuned her this morning, but she's been pretty good about being in tune. I wasn't planning on playing. I was just going to get on the message and share my experience from this morning with the Lotus Sutra memory. And those of you who came in later, you can watch the video from the beginning. It has a beautiful tool to help us all in this process. I'm flipping my levers, which just gives me options for a different key. May all beings be well. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. Blessings for your day. I hope this tool will help you and to have the best day that you can have. and moments of forgetting about it all and enjoying the moment. Each moment is one of the most precious moments we can ever have. I just tell you one more thing. Thank you for your company. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your support you've ever been to me. I wanted to just share another thing with you. You know, when I take a ride on my bicycle, I catch myself with a big grin, like pretty much every moment. I love the breeze against my face. I love the motion. It's a little fast, but it's not too fast to be jarring. I feel like I've got a certain amount of control, but yet a certain amount of freedom. And my bike's name is Freedom. My sister gave me my bike a few years ago for my birthday, and I'm so happy to be riding on her again. And so I just really am grateful to have something that I can do that's good exercise that I love. I love walking as well, and I've been doing much more of that than before. Those of you who know me know that I do try to work with my weight quite a lot, but it feels so good to be doing something that I love to do, that brings me great joy. It is also really good for my body. So I know that things that are good for us physically are also things that help our immune system stay strong. And if we have good, healthy immune system, it's less likely. I don't know if any of you looked at that post by Greg Braden that I posted yesterday, but he's a scientist and also a New Thought leader, but he was talking about it from a scientist's point of view, and he was saying, you know, in loving yourself, you are going to eat things that are going to be life-enhancing. You're going to be doing exercise that creates a life-enhancing energy within your body, and a healthy exercise, not one that you're sort of beating yourself up for not being good enough, but one that you just thoroughly enjoy. Can be like dolphin energy, like playful and joyful, and have a little bit of dolphin energy every day. That's like part of, I believe that's part of the main menu for your day, should be looking for dolphin energy, which is joy energy. Whatever really brings you a joy of being alive, as long as it harms nobody, including yourself. With that being said, so some dolphin energy every day, eating nutritionally, you know, drinking water is so good for you, and doing your supplements, good quality supplements. He affirmed that as well. I really, since I had that journey with cancer, supplements have been very important for me, and I still do a lot of supplements. So I do recommend that's worth your money, and to get really good ones is worth it. I'm not going to really talk about brands because people have different, you know, different brands that they like, but you know, I do recommend not necessarily going to get the cheapest ones at Walmart, because they're less likely to have been processed in healthy situations or with the best ingredients. So, or the age of them may be more expired. So do suggest getting them from a source that you trust, and really talking to your supplements, talking to your food, because after all, it's going to become you. And you want to have a good relationship with yourself, and that's one place to start that good relationship. So with that, my friends, I am going to take my parting, and I wish you peace for your day. And remember to send those off who is time to go. Send them off in love and in memories of the wonderful time you had together. Face your grief, but let it go. Don't keep holding on to that. If enough for no other reason, do let it go for no other reason than to support your loved one going forward to Godhead, going forward to pure spirit, to pure soul, pure energy. Blessings to you all. May you all stay in peace. May you all stay healthy. And may you all feel love of life. Blessings. Thank you for being here.